560 writers have gotten together and saying, hey, this NSA snooping, eavesdropping on all of us is outrageous and has to stop. Now, I love this because I remember during the great civil liberties abuses during the Bush administration, which of course, unfortunately, continued under the Obama administration, my dad would constantly get outraged and he'd say, where are the law professors? Why aren't they in the streets? I mean, this is the stuff that they talked about all of their careers. Now it's all being trampled upon right under their nose. And yes, I would see some law professors from time to time write a letter. Jonathan Turley from Georgetown was fantastic. Some would fight back, but overall, there was not a mass movement, and there still isn't. But now these writers have put together a mass movement, including Nobel laureates like Orhan Pamuk, J.M. Coetzee, Elfriede Jelinek, Günter Grass, Thomas Tranströmer. They've all gotten together and said, enough is enough. This is a violation of our liberty, and somebody's got to fight back. More writers, Richard Ford, Margaret Atwood, Umberto Eco, Jan Martel, Dave Eggers, Colin McCann, Sapphire, Ian McEwan, and Don DeLillo, some of the best writers in the world, have gotten together and written a letter saying that they are against mass surveillance. Let me quote you the letter. Surveillance violates the private sphere and compromises freedom of thought and opinion. And as we have seen, this power is being systematically abused. Of course, they're right about that, and it has consequences. They actually did a study of writers here in the US, just in the US, and it turns out that on average, they were limiting what they said about policy issues and the government more in their emails than before we found out about the NSA surveillance. I think maybe they thought the NSA surveillance originally was actually against the terrorists. How naive. So now that we find out it's actually surveilling all of us, it's already having effect. You see, you don't have to arrest any writers or any political dissidents before it has an effect. When we all self-censor one another and don't send the emails or the correspondence, even among the great thinkers and writers of our time, when they check themselves, well, the police state has already had that effect. And now, unfortunately, that's all over the world, and that's why writers from all over the world are now writing this letter. And they say, we are really very worried about the mass surveillance. We think it's undermining democracy totally, and we are shocked that more people aren't up in arms about it. And that's Danish writer Jan Teller, who's actually leading this movement, okay? And she's right. It should be up in arms over it, and I'm glad at least she put this together along with some of the other writers to actually make a big statement. Okay, and then finally she says, this undermines all the freedoms and values that I otherwise love about America. So, and she does, even though she's a Danish writer, she lives in the US. So I can't understand why Americans can accept mass surveillance in this way. It's totally against the freedom ideals. See, that is my favorite point right there. Al-Qaeda attacked us, we're told by Bush and the others, because they hated our freedoms. Well, I guess in the ironic way of Bush thinking is, we had to attack our freedoms over here before Al-Qaeda got to them. So we gave away our freedoms, then what was the point of fighting against Al-Qaeda in the first place? Other than the military-industrial complex making a little bit more money in that war. The point was supposed to be to protect our freedoms, not to trample upon them and do Al-Qaeda's bidding for them. Now I want to go back to the letter one more time. Surveillance makes the individual transparent, while the state and the corporation operate in secret. As we have seen, this power is being systematically abused. See, isn't that super interesting? And they're onto it right there. They're not just talking about the state, they're talking about corporations. Yesterday on the show, we told you about the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That's a trade deal where corporations and their lobbyists can see what the deal is, and by the way, write huge parts of it and insist on it, but even our own representatives couldn't see it. Finally, they were allowed to see it, but they couldn't take copies of it home. They couldn't share it with their staff, and they certainly couldn't give it to the public. So everything that the government does is super secret, except the corporations are allowed to see all of it, but our stuff, none of it can be secret. And the final irony is that the NSA is so mad at Edward Snowden and wants to prosecute him and follow him and pursue him to the end of the world because he trampled upon their privacy.